not to cry the whole time. With that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Laura Rudeen. Rudeen. Laura is a clinical mental health counselor and a member of this UUFM. She's lived in McMinnville for 10 years, and in her free time she enjoys hiking, biking, reading, and exploring Oregon with her wife and their golden retriever. Please join us in welcoming Laura.
Thanks, Thomas. What I'm really excited about is that Thomas said that his friends were excited about his sauna, and then he looked at me, so we're friends. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. You guys see that? Well, good morning. You might be wondering why I, a random member of our fellowship, am up here as speaker this morning. Some of you know that I am a retired preacher. I spent the first few years of my adult life as a pastor in a Christian context. I loved that community. The story of my exit from that role, my changing faith, and my discovery of, well, you people. That's for another time. I've changed careers now, and that was a good decision, but there are some things about that role that I've really deeply missed. And I have missed preaching. But what in the world do you preach on in a context like this when there's no single sacred text that we're all taking right in as like our basis, our foundation? What can I preach on that A, I know enough about to bring something worth hearing, B, still rings true to me, and C, doesn't trigger a trauma response in 70% of the congregation? Something else I sorely missed was the presence of ritual and tradition. And that's part of the reason why we're here. At least for me. I don't know if you missed that. I really like participating in something that I know has stretched back generations and that I know will continue taking on new meaning long after me, each fingerprint that touches it. And yet it grounds us all in deep truth and meaning. Rituals and traditions speak to truths inside of us that transcend words and intellect. Things like singing together. I was raised in a hospitable, evangelical Christian congregation that tried its best to straddle the line between high church and low church. So somewhere in the middle of swinging incense and like laser light shows. We sang hymns on most Sundays. When I was a teenager, I thought they were the worst because I wanted the laser light show. Right? But as I got older, I began to feel an appreciation for them, for their familiar melodies and singable lyrics. So when Katrina and I ended up here at UUFM, I was very pleased to find hymnals on the chairs. As we sang some of the songs, my brain was just lighting up, right? It gave me the same comfort as a warm, well-worn piece of clothing. And I decided, well, hey, if I ever get a chance to preach here, I'll preach on a hymn. And then the worship committee asked me to speak, and I hadn't thought of a better idea yet, so here we are. And I chose the text of Come, Come, Whoever You Are this morning because I recognized it with delight right away the first time we sang it. And I think it's one that we sing enough where some of you who have been around for a while recognize it well. The lyrics are taken from a poem by Rumi, 13th century Persian writer who was pretty prolific in his work. He was a Muslim scholar and Sufi mystic. His poetry centers themes of the divine, of love, of non-duality, of silliness and stillness. Let me read the words of Rumi's poem once again to refresh our memories. I guess I'm just pretending that we don't all still have it stuck in our heads here, but it is. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. It doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, yet again come, come. What a delightful summons. Join us, whoever you are. It doesn't matter if you're righteous or a perjurer or somewhere in between. These words are clearly an invitation. But to what exactly? To community? Maybe. To a journey? To what sounds like a pretty fun parade. I can almost see the colorful procession, a motley crew of merchants and pilgrims beckoning with outstretched hands. Yeah, there is room for one more. The more I have sung these words out loud, the more I have come to hear them as an invitation to hope. And that might be because I am an incorrigible optimist, but it also has a lot to do with that line in the middle. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Despair is apparently the one thing that is not invited here. There's a sense that if you show up with despair, it's not that you'll be turned away, per se, but you certainly won't be able to hold on to it very long. Not with this crowd. Their whole ethos is no despair. Their whole ethos is the opposite of despair. And what is the opposite of despair?
Joy.
Ruined it. Hope. You did not ruin it. Absolutely not. Today, well, I would actually say there's a pretty good case to be made for joy. Genuinely. Maybe I should have thought more about that. We're going to go with hope. Hope is a familiar concept to most of us, I would imagine. Hope is a feeling of expectation, a longing for good. We've all had it. We all know what it feels like. I also think we all know what it feels like when hope is hard to come by. When it feels like hope is a difficult discipline, or even an exercise in futility. Something in us hesitates to choose hope when the world is constantly being jolted off of its axis. Despair feels like a much more natural state when you just don't know if hope is worth it anymore. I'm going to briefly share some history to put Rumi's poem in context. When the Mongols invaded Central Asia between 1215 and 1220, is this the direction you thought this was going to go this morning? Rumi was just a boy, 8, maybe 10. Rumi and his family, probably with many other families, left what is now Afghanistan, and they migrated for several years, trying to find a safe and sacred area where they could live. This was a dangerous journey. The state of affairs in the region was changing quickly, constantly. The whole reason for traveling in a caravan was for protection from danger, from bandits, animals, or people whose territory that you're unknowingly encroaching upon. And they were doing this for years, embarking into the unknown. And that's scary. You can imagine them thinking, I don't know if we're getting through this in one piece. We don't know who or if we will be on the other side. Living in the upheaval of what you've always known as safe and good is grueling. I probably don't need to tell all of you that. And yet we do it over and over again. When injustice or chaos, pain, or even death rise up in front of us, we find a way through. How? Well, a lot of ways. I'm more interested in why. To say why, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story from my history. In the Christian tradition, today marks the first Sunday of the season of Advent. Although I'm no longer celebrating Advent in the same way, I still feel very connected to the truth that grounds this season. a truth that so many cultures and spiritual paths honor during this time of the year. That darkness will always come, but darkness does not last forever. That light will always return, and in fact, that light is among us even when the year is at its darkest. As a promise of what is to come, even when things around us feel very dark indeed. When I was a child, my parents always put an Advent wreath on our dining room table. It was this like ring of faux greenery, and then 4 taper candles, and 1 in the middle. Each week on Sunday, we would gather around and a candle was lit. One by one, every week until Christmas. I was not very excited about this when I was a child because it delayed dinner. But I still sensed that it was meaningful. Clearly it meant something. And that first candle lit on the first Sunday of Advent was the hope candle. That was the tone that set the entire season. In times of great darkness, we can't always reason our way through, but this tradition, this ritual of bringing the light, it spoke to a deep truth within me, that the light is coming, and in fact, the light is here. Not even the greatest darkness can swallow a pinprick of light. I don't pretend to know exactly what darkness is each of you in this room are walking through. For some of you, the darkness may feel bottomless, irredeemable. It may take the form of cynicism, grief, fear, guilt, loneliness. You may have very good reasons for these darknesses. As hard as they may be, they have a place. They have a place. They can come. They are invited. I believe that these things, at least, are not the opposite of hope. They actually tell us what exactly we are hoping for. Our pain, where it's deepest, usually points us to what matters most. That is very important information for us to have. I believe you can carry almost any darkness and hold hope at the same time. The one thing you can't hold together with hope is despair. Why? Because maybe they are opposites. Despair is giving up. Hope is going on. Fear can come on that journey. So can grief, guilt, or loneliness. But why hope? Why even hope at all when despair feels so much easier? Because hope is a prerequisite for action, right? Why even hope at all? Or why even do anything if we have no hope? Hope is the whole reason why we're motivated to do the things that we do. If hope feels hard to come by these days, I have 3 ideas for you. The first one is look closer. By that, I don't mean like look closer and focus in on something necessarily. I mean look closer to you, right? Shift your focus to what is more immediately around you. Center yourself in the present moment. When you are tempted by despair, look closer. Because I would bet that many of the things that most of us do in our daily lives are done in hope. We go to church. We participate in meetings to shape the conversations in our communities. We visit our friends. We make meals. We wash our recyclables. We write postcards. We teach our children kindness. We try really hard to stop buying from Amazon. Ethical, sure. I'll say that. But also slow and mundane and sometimes monotonous too. But even in that ordinary work, I know I keep trying to give shape to a new kind of world. To the possibilities of living our lives right now as if hope actually bears fruit. as if the moral arc of the universe really does bend toward justice and goodness and peace. And if you look closer, maybe you will see that this is why you are doing them too. Maybe you will see that these things really do have an impact for the people around you. Maybe these reminders can encourage you and spark your hope once more. If hope feels hard to come by these days, it might be because you're not really on good terms with hope right now. Sometimes hope itself is painful because it sets us up for disappointment. That disappointment can make us feel foolish for ever hoping in the first place. And that pain can make it feel tricky to trust hope again. A few minutes ago, I described myself as an incorrigible optimist. While that is definitely true, it doesn't mean that I've always been on good terms with hope. There was one time in particular a few years ago that was particularly difficult for me, and I'm not going to go into detail about it, so sorry to skip the juicy details. But I remember having a conversation with my dad. I remember just saying, I just don't see there's any way it's going to work out. I just don't have any hope that it's going to change and get better. And my dad, who is, if possible, even incorrigibly more optimistic than I am. Trina's laughing because she knows that it's true. I said, well, I will keep hoping, and I will hold on to your hope for you until you're ready to take it back. So that is my second idea, if hope is hard to come by for you right now. Find someone who can hold on to your hope for you until you're ready to pick it back up again. My third idea is also inspired by Advent in a way. In Advent, we celebrate the coming of something new and good in the Christian tradition. In the fullness of time, it will come, and it was chosen to come at this time in this place. And I still believe that in some way, I'm not exactly sure how, so don't ask me about the details, but we were chosen for this time in this place. There's a reason why each of us are here. So if we're chosen for this time in this place, and if we are a people who truly believes that love is the center of all that we do, we truly believe in the dignity of all people, in the interconnectedness of all life, we're asking the question, is there anything worth risking bitter disappointment for? Any glimpse of those things that's worth fighting for? If we are who we say we are, there had better be. There had better be something that my heart recognizes as hope-worthy. And if I can't see it through the darkness, I had better get to light making. I had better make darn sure that when hope flies home after long winter, it can find a roost here in my regular, ordinary, trying not to buy from Amazon life. So that's my third idea. Get to light making. The truth is, we are constantly embarking on the unknown. Even when we think that we have it all planned out, even when we think that we know what's coming next, we can try, but we don't. So we're all in this caravan together, a motley crew, huh? But you're invited. Come, whoever you are, wherever you're at. It will take you. And bring your hope. Emily Dickinson writes that hope is a thing with feathers. I like Emily Dickinson for a lot of reasons, don't get me wrong. But I tend to like Alice Walker's definition better. Hope is a woman who has lost her fear. Maybe you're not quite ready to pick up hope again. And that's okay. We'll hold it for you. You can still come. May it be so.
As is our tradition, we will do a 2-minute meditation, followed by a dialogue with Lori.